I'm gonna buy some, so it's even.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very much. Would you please call the roll, Karen?
Yes, Frost. No. Here. Then Joseph.
Here.
Sow.
Here.
Gorson.
Here.
Moons. And Tyre.
Do we have any correspondence?
No, we do not.
Okay. And any visitor statements? You have a statement? Okay, we just asked to keep it to 3 minutes, and we don't usually take questions, but if you do have a question or something that you want answered, then we can arrange for a meeting later on to do that after the fact, okay?
Ask a question in the statement?
Typically, we don't, it's not a two-way conversation. You make your statement, and then either we'll address it later if it's on our agenda, or if you would like an answer, we will arrange for the right person to sit down.
I don't know if I just want a point of view from you guys.
Well, let's just, how about make the statement and then we'll talk about it after.
But it's in the form of a question.
The policy is,
Because I don't wanna make a statement that I don't know whether it's true or not. So that's why I wanna ask your guys' view on it, so.
yeah, well, we'll follow up. Let's go ahead and ask it and then we will follow up with you to let you
Okay,
know.
I wanna be respectful that I don't know what you
Okay.
think about a particular issue.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Could you please state your name and the village that you're from?
Daniel Vishny, Vishny, Buffalo Grove. One, know, does this school board support teachers sharing their personal views on politics in the classroom?
Can
So
we
you wanna-
maybe,
Do you,
do you wanna meet with Dr. Twaddell or Mr. Gobble about that, or both of them? And
If you guys would be available and we made an appointment, I don't know what your procedure is.
Yep.
yeah, absolutely, that would be the procedure, so we would welcome that.
Is that something after the meeting that we can?
yeah, and if you didn't wanna stay, you could just shoot one of us an email. But yeah, absolutely.
So after the meeting, maybe just
Yep.
see to arrange an appointment? Yep. Okay, that was my only question.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Of course. Our student activities report, Alex, welcome.
Alright, hi everybody. So today I'm just going to be presenting on everything that went down since I last saw you guys and then up to this point. So starting off with academics, recently the juniors took the PSAT. I know this is a really stressful time for a lot of people. Me putting myself in their shoes. Last year I was stressed out over this, but it was really just a practice for them or a chance to earn the National Merit Scholarship or be qualified for it, which is kind of cool to see because my friends that took it last year along with myself, some of them were named a semifinalist within that qualifying test, so that's just awesome to see that progress and that dedication towards trying to achieve the best academic level as possible. And then in addition, a lot of college stuff has been going down. As all of you know, that early decision, early action deadline is coming up. November 1st is a scary, scary day, but it's all gonna be okay because Stevenson has a lot of different resources and personnel to help us through that process, such as the info sessions held by the CCC, just the CCC staff in general helping us through that process by editing our essays, looking over everything. So it's just been really helpful through this journey. And then also freshmen participating in scope meetings with their counselors, just to get a general gist of how high school is going to be laid out for them and to address any concerns they may be facing. And then for more club-specific academic-related activities. Stevenson debate team competed at the ICDA 1, and a lot of them took home some top finishers. So there was a lot of top 3 placers, a lot of champions within that competition. So that's just great to see people utilizing their passion in a competitive setting, along with Political Action Club exploring a simulation where they could either serve as trustees or villager staffers within this specific event in Buffalo Grove Civics Forum. So that's just a way to further explore their career passions with different communities and different schools. And then math team as well. We are currently ranked first in the league, which is awesome. We have a lot of smart people at our school. But they also took home a victory at the North Suburban Math League, which was the first of the year. So that's just awesome. And then along with math team, they also participated in some service-related activities as well, utilizing that math. So recently they held a really successful carnival to support, to assist kids with math. So they had math associated with carnival games. So you see darts in that corner, some Beanie Boo thing in the right corner. I wasn't there, I don't really know what that is, but it is all math related and it was very successful. Huge turnover, so just great to see the external community getting involved.
Estimate how many beads are in the unicorn. That was the that was the question.
Thousands. I still have like 1 million of those stored in my basement somewhere in a box. But yeah. And moving on to athletics. So the homecoming game was recent. And a lot of people showed up. If you haven't gone to a game before, this was the chance to go. It's a huge turnout. You could see that a lot of people were on the fence right there, just supporting our team. We did take home a victory, which is awesome to see on our homecoming day, 14-0 against Lake Forest. And we just had a lot of cheer and a lot of spirit. It was just great to come together as a community, as a school, and unify with our friends, with people we don't even know next to us, just having fun. And then senior night was also a very big thing to venerate those seniors participating in athletics over the past 4 years, 3 years, however long they participated in their sport. We had boys soccer, we had girls volleyball, golf, tennis, swim and dive, field hockey. They all just got together and, celebrate their last year at Stevenson. And it's kind of sad, but, we're moving forward on a new chapter of our life, so it's exciting as well. And then within the arts, we had a lot of fall productions already take place. So Clue, Alice Adventures in Wonderland was actually this past weekend. I had a friend who played Queen of Hearts and was really excited to just, scream off with your head, just the entire performance. But they're really great performances. Again, great ways for Stevenson students to just participate in their passion and showcase it for the rest of us to see. And then there's for musical purposes, there was the fall band and choir concert. So again, just to bring light to the community while doing what they love. And then homecoming itself. So the dance was crazy. I think we had the highest turnout we've ever had before. 3,000 kids, Mr. Gobble was saying we could have had made it a school day. A school day on a Saturday, but it was a great turnout. We had a lot of fun. Everyone was just moshing away. We're very close-knit community in that setting. But just a great way to, celebrate with your friends. That's me and a group of my friends before when we took pictures and just got ready. So that was just a really fun experience. And, it's kind of sad because it's our last homecoming for seniors. So we really just got the opportunity to celebrate that and, spend time together before we all move on. But addition to the homecoming dance, there was a bunch of spirit activities to just promote that school spirit. So we had a roller rink outside of the pool patio, and then addition to different dress-up days. So holiday day, that right-hand corner, someone's dressed as Santa and then a funny sweater. Disco day, just Color Wars day. So yeah, that was just a great way to bring all of us together.
And a special thank you to the PPA
Yes.
who provided the roller
Oh,
rink
yes.
and all that stuff.
Big thank you to PPA.
Kids had
for
so
that.
much fun on roller skates, so
Yes.
thank you to the PPA crowd for sure.
And then the NHS blood drive, so that was also pretty recent too, on October 7th. But it was in honor of Jake Kinging. He's a wrestler here at Stevenson with pediatric cancer, and recently he had a surgery where he needed 28 units of blood, and unfortunately today there's a blood shortage. So just having this blood access is especially essential right now. So we were able to save approximately 200 lives, 250 plus lives, so that's just awesome. Each student got to, besides saving 3 lives, they got to learn their blood type. They got some snacks too to just stay awake, not pass out. But yeah, it was a really good service experience for those students, along with having a meaningful impact to those people who do need blood and there's a shortage. And then students helping soldiers. So I recently assisted bikers during the Gold Star 500 bike race. So providing them with water, unloading trailers, food, etc. And they collaborated with the veterans of foreign war for the winter coat and hoodie drive, just collecting goods for veterans in need. So that's a picture on the right at the bike race. And just another example of our amazing Stevenson community and the ways what they do to help the community around them. And then ISA, so this past month has been Diversity Month. I know the freshmen recently received a presentation about fire and the importance of using certain language and stopping certain language when it comes to that and celebrating everyone's diversity. So ISA, the Indian Student Association, recently had their Garba. So that's just to celebrate their traditions as well, come together and perform a special dance at school. So that was just a great way to, participate in traditions and come together as a community. And then some certain student experiences. So I asked 4 different people in 4 different clubs about a specific club they participate in or lead and what they got out of that, and some highlights from that as well. So first person, things are going really well. We increased our membership from 30 people from my freshman year to 200 people, a new record. We're planning a lot of different activities such as SHS hacks, while also finding ways to utilize our passion to give back to the community. So just seeing a number shoot up from 30 to 200 is rewarding and shows that student how much they have done to make that club grow and their impact on other people and spreading their passion to other people. And then just for something fun, every Thursday I bring friends to the club where we play table tennis for fun and take a break from school stressors. It's a great outlet for me to relax for an hour while doing something I enjoy. So again, not everything is just about academics, you have to find that balance as well. And for this student, it's table tennis, and that's an outlet for him to just de-stress, and like many other students, they have their own outlet to de-stress, so that's something unique to see.
They might just be there to de-stress, but I've
Or
worked
just
there,
smack them.
and I can't beat any of them.
They're very good.
Yeah,
Some of them compete
really
as
good.
well, so. And then recently, Taiwanese Culture Club opened up. They had their first meeting ever. These students worked really hard throughout sophomore year and junior year to make this a reality, just to make sure that their culture was represented. So this student said, Taiwanese Culture Club is something we have been trying to establish since sophomore year, and I'm really happy that the idea we had is finally becoming a reality. So again, just that work ethic, that passion to work hard on something and, like you said, make it become a reality. And it did, and it was really successful. They had a good meeting. And then finally, FTC is my favorite club because I get to participate in a lot of specific service trips while being a part of a tight-knit community. Again, that just emphasizes how close we are as a Stevenson community and also our individual communities within it. So, yeah. We're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Amazing. I love the quotes.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions for Alex?
Now would be the time, if you wanted to cheer as her fan club member, Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
She's gonna be right back.
I'll be back.
She's about to win an
She's
award.
about-
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Alright. On that note,
All right, yep, okay. Well, we are excited to have everybody here tonight. I am assuming not Sean for your Pepsi contract, but instead for the Ambassador Awards. And for those who may or may not know, we reserved Stevenson's highest award for the Ambassador Award for students who either win a state championship or score a perfect score on the ACT or SAT. So kind of the highest levels of achievement that students can be awarded either academically or co-curricularly. So tonight we're very excited to recognize students in our HOSA club and our student in our AP program. So Mr. Gobble,
Yep.
take it away.
So we have a lot of people to recognize tonight, and we're gonna call them up one at a time, and then we'll give you plenty of time for pictures. So moms and dads, if you're in the room, when we're handing over, we'll give you a moment to take that individual shot, and then we're also gonna bring everybody up, and you'll get a chance to get some great group photos at the end. I do wanna recognize right off the bat, we have someone who couldn't attend today, but their award is just so amazing that I think we need to spend some time to get it in the public record. We had a student who achieved a perfect score on an AP exam. And some of you might be thinking like, lots of kid gets 5 on their AP exam. I don't mean she got a 5. I mean she didn't miss any questions. She got every single question right. And that only happens to like 40 people in the entire country for all of the exams, right? This is incredibly rare. She couldn't make it tonight. The test was the two-dimensional art class, which is just incredible to imagine. She had to create art and answer questions, and that award would be for Abigail Zhang. So we are thrilled. She'll get her plaque, and I wish she could be here tonight to celebrate, but that one I think is absolutely amazing. The second group that we're here to recognize, we got like half the room filled out there. HOSA is a club that we have at school here that's, I think the members, 300, right? I think there's like 300 folks that are involved in this club.
329.
329. Yeah, that's a high school in some cases, right? So that's pretty amazing. We're gonna call you in one at a time. You'll get the chance to get your award, and we're gonna start with Reshma Udagal. Come on forward. And then just stay right, get a picture. And then if you just want to move over to the edge, we'll just start lining people up here. Yep, so we have Vika Eiffel. Okay. Reedy Bagwat. Munsha Basim. Turn around, get that picture. Amnol Dash. Sharyu Daro. Congratulations. All right, Joy Fay. Abigail Freistetter. Akshaya Ganji. Nikita Goswami. Mandar Halepanawar. Twisha Hegde. Jennifer Huang. Tisha Jane. Laibe Kashif.
Congratulations.
Mirakare.
Congratulations.
Rohita Kotyara. Alpha Blanc. Megana Mandava.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Christina Mo.
Not here.
Trisha Mandal.
Not here.
Kashfi Nagpal. Arjun Nair.
Thank you so much.
Sarah Narula. Shivani Patnuru. Helen Chen.
Not here.
Manasha Sankreshwari Ramesh.
Congratulations.
Nikita Satyayan. Swara Shroff. I love it when it gets so full that there's no space up here. The kids were getting to award. Ritanya Subramanian.
Not here.
Annie Thomas.
Not here.
Ann Thomas?
Congratulations.
Nikita Tooley.
Not here.
Preeti Yagna Murphy. Amata Yalamanchili. And last but not least, the glue that holds this whole group together, Coach Jill Lippman. All right, so in just a minute, we're gonna have the board ask you guys a couple questions about what you've done, but first, we want you to squish in here. We're gonna need some tall folks in the back. We're gonna have to do a couple of rows to get you in. We wanna get a picture of everybody, so spread out, yep, we're gonna.
That way first.
Yep, we're gonna, so tall folks in the back, give me like 3 rows here if we can pull that off.
The lighting's off.
Okay, big smiles. We're getting out of the way. Make sure you can see everybody's faces. Parents, if you need to move around, this is your chance. Get a good one.
I'll just hide that.
All right. Oh, couple more. Jamie's gonna get one too.
Gotta get it on Instagram.
Yep, we gotta get one on, yep. All right.
Didn't happen.
And you like each other.
Oh, they heard Instagram. They're all like. Yeah. All right. So if I could, can I get you all now to turn around, like back up a couple steps, we're gonna turn around. So, is there anybody in the group that are seniors? Any seniors in the group? Awesome. So I'm gonna turn over the board. Yeah, if you have any questions you'd like to know about their experience.
Well, first of all, could you tell us what HOSA stands for?
Health Occupation Students of America.
Oh, okay. So you're
What's-
giving presentations on careers in health sciences, or what types of projects do you?
So there are a variety of different events. I can take a class related to a specific career pathway. So if you're interested in dentistry, there's a dental exam aligned with that.
Specifically what I did a teamwork event with Palatine, so I did a presentation where I chose a target audience, so we did teachers and presented on a health issue that would relate to them. So I did skin cancer awareness with my team, and then we created a portfolio on that process, including some pictures, methods, research, and then created a 5-minute presentation relating to that portfolio.
So my question will be, what made you choose HOSA as your after school, activity? What made you join the HOSA? Because there's so many clubs out there, right? So why you chose HOSA?
I think just like Alex mentioned, there is so much variety in the number of events and things that you can explore. So even for me, as someone who's not necessarily considering a career as a doctor, it's just the ability to explore so many different avenues in biology and healthcare is really intriguing.
Okay, so can I go?
No?
Oh my gosh.
Actually,
I'm
the
looking for
correct answer to that
chaperones.
question is that Jill Lippman's, like, she's the best sponsor in the building.
Yeah, okay.
What were some of the other events that people did?
Yeah.
We did, we did EMT, it was also a partner event, so the two of us worked together. There was the test portion of the event, and then we had a skills portion where we had to actually do like some of the things that EMTs would do, like splinting casts, doing CPR, stuff like that.
Yeah, and we were given like a simulation, so it was very hands-on experiential, which is one part that I like about HOSA a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
You can also do like solo events if you want to. Like I did one where I studied like a biotechnology textbook, and then there was like how there was like a multiple choice test, and then we advanced to like laboratory skills. So I got to do real skills like streaking an agar plate and like blood typing and stuff like that.
So do you guys practice this? Is this what your meetings are like? You're practicing all those types of things, like the skills and everything?
That's more independent. I think in the meetings like it's more like
It's more informational. Because there's over 50 events, it's kind of hard to cover
You
each
can't cover 'em
specific event, yeah, so the meeting is really tailored to what the member needs, and what specific event they're doing.
So I'm just doing the math here. If there's 50 events and there's 30 of you, we won more than half of the events? Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's what I like to hear.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations. Wonderful job.
Great job,
All
guys.
right, great job, you guys.
Big round of applause for the crowd. Thank you very much.
We also want to thank the parents for being here, and although we have the rest of our meeting to go, if you wanted to make an somewhat awkward exit out, now would be the perfect time to do that. So feel free. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much for coming, everyone.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Sean, you lost them.
That's the way this sounds.
Those kids, they're amazing.
Our government group's hanging on, yes! Excited.
Want to do the napkin? Now you can have some space.
Steve, you can come out from under. Eric tells me to sit in the corner like every day.
No one put Stevie in the corner. Come on.
Just so he can knock his head as many
That's right.
times as he can on there.
All right. Well, it is always fun to recognize our students. However, we also thoroughly enjoy hearing the great work that our curriculum teams are doing. And so, as the board knows, each month throughout the year, we have the opportunity to hear from some of our amazing faculty members about work that they're doing with respect to our social emotional learning initiative, which is one of our district goals, obviously. And tonight we have members of our science division here who are to present. And so Steve Wood, our director of science, is here as well. And Steve, I'll let you introduce your team and take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, like Eric said, it's hard to follow the kids always,
Yeah.
but these are the folks that form and shape these kids too, along with their parents. So I'm really excited to have the earth science team. These three wonderful women have worked with Lori this year, but the cool thing is they've been doing this for years as a culmination of a lot of the work that they've done, and I know that their first slide is going to introduce themselves and some of their experience, so I'm going to turn it over to them and let them tell their story.
So I'm listed first there. I am Jill Lysias, and this is my 21st year teaching, my 18th at Stevenson. And currently I teach college prep earth science and AP environmental science.
Hi, I'm Molly Sponseller. It's my 10th year teaching here and in general. And I, this year, am teaching all levels of earth science. So collaborative earth science, college prep earth science, and earth science honors.
My name is Deanna Warkins. This is my 21st year at Stevenson High School. I'm also an alum, so you can tell that I just graduated from high school 4 years ago. And I teach college prep earth science as well as collaborative earth science and accelerated chemistry.
So we're going to start by giving you a little bit of like background on our students this year. We had our students fill out a survey at the beginning of the year with just some like background information. What class did you take before coming into our classroom? What they're involved in outside of school? What if they have a job or not? Just like some different things, and we're going to walk you through that. This is the first piece of information that we wanted to share with you because our class is sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And so what they are coming into our classroom, the previous science knowledge that they have is really varied. If you look, the college prep physics makes up about 30% of our population. Those are our seniors that took college prep physics as a junior. College prep bio, that's another 30%. Those are our sophomores that took biology as a freshman. And then you'll kind of see the other 40% is, sorry, that was quick math. Okay, so that 40% is a variety of different subjects at different levels. The one thing that I wanted to kind of highlight is that we have representation from collaborative biology, so that's a co-taught class as a freshman that are now coming into our classroom typically as a sophomore or a junior, so they've made their way into a mainstream class. So this for some students is a reach class, and it's a time to try science in a mainstream room. So that's the background.
We have a really diverse group of students with their student and life balance. I know that some of the representation, we saw a lot of students that were in HOSA, but many of our students, not only are they involved at Stevenson, but they're also involved with work, and they are also involved with care of other siblings at home. So over the years, we've noticed that many of our students have other things that they're doing at home besides just sports or activities that are affiliated with Stevenson. And that has changed quite a bit in the past few years. So now instead of going, home and just taking care of themselves and their needs, many students are working, and we see that some of our students are even working 10 plus hours a week, which is a lot in trying to maintain. Like they said, we still have sophomores, juniors, and seniors in our course. So we have quite a diverse background, even in where they are at in their learning of science, that we accommodate for in our class as well.
And something else that we just wanted to point out is the demographics of Stevenson are on the right in this image, and the demographics of our class are on the left. So we talked about this diversity in experiences, this diversity in coursework prior to our class, this diversity in just what level and knowledge the students are coming into our classes with. We're also seeing some differences in demographics from our overall population. So that just kind of lays the groundwork for what does our classroom look like? So why then are we taking on this SEL task?
So for our first work that we've done with some of our SEL, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the sense of belonging because we want our students to see themselves as a successful scientist. Throughout many of their careers at Stevenson, some of them haven't taken the pathway that would lead them to maybe wanting to major or work in science, and so they do not see themselves as scientists. But in our classroom, they are a scientist, and they're doing all of the same work that other classes are doing where those students automatically envision themselves as someone who takes science, who is good at science, and who will be successful in a science classroom. So we build that academic confidence by making sure that we don't assign homework, especially for all those reasons that we said before. They are doing more outside the classroom than just school activities. We make sure that they do self-assessments so they're aware of where they are at. We do those with Google Forms. We also are one of the science courses that has an engineering project both semesters. And what's really interesting is some of the students never saw themselves able to build things or fix things. And they will be someone who's gonna watch a YouTube video and need to fix something. And so just being able to say, hey, I can do that, is going to save them a lot of money in the future. There's also numerous pieces of evidence throughout our semester to show growth. So we really work on, you know what, this unit or this task didn't go so well, but you have many more opportunities in order to learn from those mistakes. We do daily themes throughout our course. So each day has a different SEL test. Like on our Mondays, we do brain puzzles, we do Thankful Thursdays, we do group challenges on Fridays to really make sure that they're aware that SEL is important to us. We also are very intentional with the way that we group students. We often talk about what we should do with different challenges that we face with certain students. We are also working on building emotional confidence because, like I said, some of the students do not see themselves as being successful in science. So when they have self-reflection, we will read that feedback. Some of the students we will individually talk to. We make sure that we note to them the times that they have grown when we have seen that growth so that they realize that that's something that they are doing because some of them can't even recognize how much they have changed over time with the work that they're doing. We make sure that we give sentence starters to begin discussions. Anytime we have a question, how would you answer this? Who would go first? Because many of them are afraid to share some of their ideas. And so by having a way to start, they jump in a lot easier. And then making sure that we connect the content to the real world, which is easier because it's earth science. That's the world.
And then, okay, so we give the student voice survey like every class does. This year we were able to be part of the pilot group, so we were able to gain access to our data a little bit earlier. So we reviewed the data, and this is the one question we wanted to make sure to share with you because it kind of has guided our work for the year and what will come and the changes that we've made. So the question is, how much do you feel like you belong in this class? And so we had a 69% favorable response. There are really two things on this slide that we wanted to point out. One, 0 students reported that they do not belong at all. So we first of all say yay, that's a win, good. And then we look at those 2 results that are highlighted in red, they belong a little bit, they belong somewhat. And those are really our target students of who we want to focus our work on. We want them, all of our students are belonging at somewhat, a little bit. But we want them to be belonging quite a bit or completely belong. And so we're trying to move from little bit to a lot. Sense.
And why did we choose that and how did we get here? We've kind of heard our students in this course over time have some negative self-talk about, I can't do this, or, I didn't finish it because I didn't know how to do it. And so how do we get them past that? Belonging gets them to a point that they're a lot more comfortable asking us those things. Just in general, this engineering project that we were talking about, when they are initially approaching that, there's some apprehension about how to set it up, and we really break it down and show them step by step how to go about doing that, and then they get to create this build. And we often find that's really a self-esteem builder because we give them a challenge that they have to hold 5 pounds and they're all thinking, I'm not gonna be able to do it. And most of them find that they are successful at it. It sounds like a lot at first. So then it's more of, can I hold 20 pounds after that? Overall, we find that they have lower reading levels. So how can we
help them be comfortable in our class, especially with these varied grade levels and these varied reading levels. That's another thing that we often address. That idea of we see them hesitate when they're starting challenges or different projects and activities in class. And then there is some uncertainty when we ask them about what they want to do next or where they're planning on going to college. Some of them, have a set plan. Some of them just really aren't sure or say, oh, I'm gonna do this for a few years, but I'm not really sure. So just building up their confidence through that sense of belonging is something that we value.
You're looking at me. So thanks to these women, they offered me a moment just because since I am new in this role and I know some of you are new at this table, we thought we would take an opportunity with this presentation just to do a little bit of review. I know many of you have seen this numerous times, but this is the framework that all of our academic teams use as we use our student voice data. And so we will give the student voice survey both in the fall and then again in the spring. And we use that as our grounding framework along with all of the self-report assessments, Google Forms, et cetera, that they've already discussed that they are giving. And so just to go into this conversation of how do we come up with our areas of focus, what is our conversation, what direction do we want to go, and then I'll come back in a moment and sort of lay out the pathway that we go through.
So for our students, we've really focused on self-awareness, like who are you, how do you contribute to the class, and then relationship skills within the group members. Many of our challenges, other than the ones that are for an actual assigned grade, those are going to be in a group setting. And so how do they manage problem solving and getting through a challenge? All of our challenges are attainable for every group to meet that goal. It is not a competition. We set a goal, a bar, and then they work to meet that. And so for the action steps that we are currently not all the way through this, like Lori said, we just started and we just got our data back. So phase one for us, that would be just the prediction. What do we think is going to happen? And overall, we would like to see growth throughout the year and overall see the students' sense of belonging increase. We're really visualizing that we have seen an increase in data over time, and we're hoping that our efforts will continue that trend as we've been working on it for a couple of years. And right now we're in the observation phase. We're just looking at the data. We're also collecting data in our classrooms through some of the forms that are more meaningful to our students.
So as I mentioned just a moment ago, this is just the idea of bridging the work that has been going on for years and then us continuing to build on what has taken place in the 6+ years since we've started this SEL initiative. And so as you can see, this team has been doing unbelievable work far before I got into this role. And then now we will just continue that process with the current framework that we're working, which is what you're seeing underneath here. And so we'll continue to look at the feedback. We'll continue to meet throughout the course of this year, obviously, and into the future so that we can see where the growth is taking place, where the trends are happening, continue to ask questions, et cetera. And again, just coming back to that balance of why we think student voice is so important. And I know that this conversation came up at our last board meeting, but just the idea of, how do we know? How do we know what we're actually doing? And the answer is because we keep asking them, and we will continue to keep asking them and hear it directly from the source so that we can use their voice because their reality is their perspective, and that can help us continue guide our work.
And this is really important to us, like our students, we really want them to see themselves in a more positive light, and how they feel to us as teachers is just as important as their academic success. So we do a lot of different things to check in. So not only is it the mastery of the content and how they do, but also how they belong, how they identify themselves as a scientist, and really putting all of this together. So the action steps that we're taking right now is our engineering practices and our challenges, we are adding the SEL competencies in there so they can really see what we are working on. So instead of us just knowing about it, we've really decided that we want to share that with the students so they get used to seeing some of the stuff that they are improving on. And then we use self-assessment a lot with guiding questions, especially in our team meetings. We calibrate and we see where students are at, what we can do differently with some of our practices to make sure that the students are in a place where they acknowledge their growth in SEL as well. We do that with Goal Formative, which is live. As the students are responding, we can see their answers. We also use Google Forms, and then later on in the year, this is not right now, but we work on goal setting. We don't set goals with them initially because we want them to see what level they're at and then see where they need to go to set a goal.
And so this is an example from last Friday, the Friday before? Friday before, thank you. We have theme days, and so on Fridays we call it Fun Friday, but it's a mini engineering task to prepare us for our end of semester engineering project, which is obviously a bigger undertaking. And so their Fun Friday projects are always done in groups, and so we just wanted to show you an example. This is the step that one of the steps we've taken this year. So we added that SEL competency component. So again, like Deanna said, we're really just trying to increase awareness. We were doing these activities anyway. We have data from past years to show that, like, yes, their belonging increases over the years, which we'll show you in just a second. But we think that this will perhaps maybe move that even further into like more students completely belonging, or just have like more conversations throughout the year about it and it increasing like our discussion of SEL and what that looks like in our classroom. So this is just one of those examples.
And this then looks at that classroom belonging. So this is that data again from the Panorama Survey. Over time, you can see starting from spring of 2016 and then going through that time of COVID, and then that 63% on the far right, that is this fall, and that's already up from last fall. And we are hoping, our goal would be to kind of beat that 76% that we had in the spring of last year. So we know that this is something that we are already building into our classes. It's just we want to be that much more purposeful. Again, we're looking at those students who were in the feel a little or just a bit comfortable or belonging to our classrooms. Those are the students that we're really looking to boost.
And so these are our next steps, kind of where we go from here. We will really focus on like the data discussions moving forward. So Deanna mentioned using Google Forms and the feedback we get directly from the students. We, in our team meetings, look at those Google Form results, and so that conversation will continue. We'll also be meeting with Lori as the year continues to check in. Are these action steps appropriate? Like, should we be adding more things, taking those away, making adjustments as we go? But we really think that highlighting the SEL standards to our students, like showing it on the board, verbally, like explaining them, we are hoping to see a positive impact. And when they get to the engineering challenge at the end of the semester, it won't necessarily be like quantifiable data, but we are hoping that they approach those challenges with even more confidence than we've seen in the past.
I'm super interested in this idea of belonging. And I know when I talk with my children and I ask them questions like that, I get varied definitions. When you guys talk to kids about this data, and specifically that question, do you get a wide variety of responses about what it means to them to belong in a class?
Absolutely. Yes. So belonging means something very different for different students. And so I think that that's part of like, we try to give ourselves a little bit of grace when we look at that student voice survey, because for some students, it's appropriate to feel like they somewhat belong in a classroom. Like they are choosing that response as a positive response. So I think that we try to remember that in our conversations, because for some students it's like, I feel like I belong because I know the person I'm sitting next to.
Right.
Versus I feel like I belong because the teacher respects me as a human being. right? Like those are two wildly different things, but I guess we just try to, yeah.
Well, and something else that we've talked about is that culturally, the way that we feel belonging is very different too. So one student might feel belonging because I ask them about their weekend, where another student, that might be, I'm the teacher and I'm not supposed to be asking that sort of question of them because their view is, you're the teacher, you're not my friend in the same way. So I think balancing that and helping them get a sense of belonging with their classmates is really what we feel is important too.
Do you find that they're willing to engage in that kind of discussion, or?
About sense of belonging?
Yeah, I mean, are they coming in with, or are they kind of, or do you have to tease it out of them a little bit?
We don't use those words.
Yeah.
We don't say like, do you feel like you belong? So at the end of maybe, because we change every unit, we change their seating. And so some of the questions would be like, especially after a lab-based unit, what was something that your partner did really well? And so they will write something down. And so then automatically that person's like, oh, I did something great. Like, and now all of a sudden they were like, I was a part of that group. Like, they really needed me. And so those are the types of things that we do to bring up that self-confidence. And then things like knowing each other's names. So names are a big thing for students to feel a sense of belonging. So those are different things that we do, or even some of the, when we hit November, each day has a different theme about being thankful and they talk about it. And then there'll be different experiences that students have. So it's not always the science that brings it out, it's making them establish relationships, and then those relationships will make the student feel like they belong.
And if I'm not mistaken, Lori, that sense of belonging score is actually made up of like 4 or 5 different questions.
6 different questions.
Six
Yes,
different
that's what I was
questions.
gonna
So,
add.
yeah, we can forward those to you if you're interested. It's fascinating to see
Yes.
it, but it's all nationally normed also, so the data is fairly reliable.
Correct, I was gonna add the same piece, just that was the question we chose just for the sake of simplicity, but that the questions the students answer targets it from multiple areas of belonging, so that percentage really becomes a summative value, not just an individual question value.
Not a single question.
Can you see it throughout, there's clearly a big jump from fall to spring. Do you sort of see it happening as the semester goes on?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry. I think the cohesiveness of the class, yeah, exactly what Deanna was talking about, that's we want that sense of belonging where they're comfortable with each other. And yeah, I think the frequent changing of seats creates that, just because then they get to know more people in class faster.
I think it's also the idea that like our team is our room, not our team is our table. And so as they get to change and work with everyone, like, oh, we're all in this together. It's not just like me and this other person I'm sitting with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, team. That was really amazing.
Yeah.
Great job. We appreciate you. And yet, government is still sticking around.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. Still there. Okay.
Sounds like people that don't wanna wait around for me.
All right, next item is approval of our curriculum change proposals. And as we had shared previously tonight, we're bringing forward a recommendation for curriculum change proposals for the 23-24 school year. You may recall that in the spring, we presented all of these to you as letters of intent. And then over the summer, Mark and Troy lead out conversations at the admin team level. And we bring back to you final curriculum change proposals for 23-24 school year, which generally we typically bring to you in September. We brought them forward to you in October. We were running just a couple days behind and couldn't quite squeeze it in. So tonight we're bringing them forward to your review and approval.
Can I have a motion to approve the, sorry, I was reading. I have a motion to approve the the curriculum proposals?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Oh, I can't second.
Okay. And then Troy, do you or Mark wanna just give a quick, maybe overview of kind of where we're at, and then if the board has any questions?
With the applied arts division, we're looking at replacing a course that's presently being offered, child development, and pitching it as human growth and development to expand the developmental stages from prenatal to all the way through adolescence, whereas before it was prenatal to 6 years old. We're dropping media, art, and design due to under-enrollment, and we're incorporating a new class in computer science, engineering, and technology, thanks to Wendy and her team, and now Jackie King, to focus in on virtual reality and augmented reality, which is going to be pretty exciting. Already in a lot of our courses, we're using some virtual reality, but this is the actual understanding of virtual reality and moving forward with that.
That's pretty cool.
Due to some resequencing in our math program, and a number of you weren't here at the middle of last year, we switched the math sequence from Algebra 1, then now to Geometry, then Algebra 2, and that's going to lead to a cascade of changes as students grow up throughout the curriculum in name changes and prerequisites, and that's what that pretty much maps out there. And then an interesting...
Some of you might actually remember from a couple of years ago that we did that work with the feeder schools, and so some of the feeder schools, they teach Algebra 1. Now they will teach Geometry. They used to teach Algebra 2, but we think getting Algebra 2 later in a kid's career closer to the SAT is a smarter idea. So all the feeder schools, they've already made these changes a couple of years ago, but now those kids are moving up to us, and so we're slowly working through the changes, really in a way to rethink our freshman year experience. How do we make sure that the kids are having that great positive experience when they first show up?
So just to be clear, the changes that the board is seeing right now in front of us, these are changes that, for the most part, we've already discussed last year, that we're bringing forward, actually 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
We're bringing forward now because it's gonna have an impact on next year's course book.
As the kids move up
As the
to
kids
us
move
from
up.
the middle school.
I also know that we shared that we were considering some other changes to math and science, but we're not quite ready to bring those forward yet, so we put those on pause. And none of those are reflected in this document yet. Maybe in the future, but that's a whole nother conversation. So, Mark, and then
with world languages, we are changing the division name from world languages to multilingual learning division. This is aligned to the Illinois State Board of Education, so we want to stay in alignment with that. And that's been, there's a lot of discussion at the state level, but we do want to align ourselves to that. And then we were able to work with our French 3 accelerated credit with Loyola University and offer it as a dual credit, which is pretty exciting. So most all of our world languages now will have some form of dual credit late in the student's experience. And then there is a title change just to a American literature to world and contemporary literature in the EL classes. So that's the last change.
Any other questions?
And then just as a reminder, as soon as the board approves the course proposals, essentially what happens is they get filtered through Jamie's division in communications. We print out course books, and within the next couple days, parents of incoming freshmen are gonna start talking about, or actually freshman parents are gonna start talking about, your future, and it's course selection starts. Essentially, essentially we start rolling. So there's
Just as a 2-second plug, on Wednesday is a no homework night. And on that night, we're hoping to get families to have conversations about what courses are next as they move forward. So
we're excited.
We built you lots of conversations for the dinner table for Wednesday. Join us. That'd be great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I understand that the changes to math are part of a longer process and longer conversation. I'm wondering if you anticipate anything like that across other divisions, just with regards to either where students are coming in from our feeders or changes to the field that you might see reflected at the curricular level.
Yeah, I think we're having a lot of conversations right now in science, which is an interesting place to consider. And really trying to think that through, like what's best for students as they're coming in freshman year and then throughout. And then really considering students' skills as they're entering even into our English program, you know, where they're at as a freshman, what it means to be 14 taking freshman, or what does it mean to be skillfully developed, and where we might be able to bring students along and meet them where they're at and find the supports necessary to offer any interventions for students. So we're balancing off a lot of those conversations right now and thinking about that for the future. Those are all really good considerations, but require a lot of thought, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's important, our feeder districts do a fabulous job of preparing kids. And are the courses that we've built over time, are they still the right courses? Have we moved past that a little bit? The kids are, you know, in math, for instance, many kids are taking 2 years of high school level math in middle school, right? So what does that mean for the other divisions? And it's just it's a really interesting question, and it's really because of the great work that happens in the feeder districts.
We've already grappled with it a lot, with just the different ways our center districts prepare students in Spanish, for instance, you know, and that requiring a different way of looking at students coming in and how to, again, meet them where they're at and then facilitate their experience moving forward.
So, roll call.
Yes. No.
Aye.
Ben Yosef.
Aye.
Sal.
Aye.
Gorson.
Aye.
And Tyre.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, and then you'll see a number of personnel items that are part of the Human Resources Report. And that brings us to the approval of student fees, Mr. Carney.
Yep. Sorry. You'll have to forgive my voice, I'm going a little hoarse. Every year, we bring before the board the suggested fees for various really events that go on our campus, normally just the basic school fee. But one of the other school fees or ancillary fees that we need to review kind of by itself, because it always comes earlier than expected, is the summer school fee. And so tonight what we are presenting to you is the look at the student fees that we're projecting for next year. It's not finalized, but the one fee that we are looking for action on tonight is the summer school fee. And that would be for the summer of 2023. Excuse me. And we have determined that we do need to, in fact, increase that fee in order to ensure that the summer school program becomes a break-even remains a break-even program for the school district because we don't use any tax dollars on that. So with that said, we are recommending that the Board of Education approve the student fees for the summer of 2023 as presented.
Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
And just to be clear, that is the only fee change that we're asking for tonight, is just the summer school fee.
Correct. Yep. We're still working with some of our other we're going with some of our other vendors, or looking with some of our vendors to ensure that none of the other fees have changed.
Okay. So that means overall costs are going up for summer school, specifically in what area?
So the really most of the fees, the tuition fee that we're looking to increase from $350 to $400 is really just to cover the salaries of the teachers for the classes that we're running. The one fee that we are also increasing by $25 is the behind the wheel fee for our driver's ed. So we are required to offer driver's ed. We are only required to offer the classroom component, but we do offer the behind the wheel component as well. And the $350 is a bargain compared to many of the other private companies that are out there as well.
Do you have many students who take advantage of that though?
Yeah, we, Wendy could probably speak better to it, but we literally book out of all the students that can take driver's ed, both during the summer and during the school year. It's been pegged that way for, I don't know, last 25 years that I've been here, I think.
And I know that we can give a fee waiver for driver's ed. What about summer school in general? Is there a waiver
So,
available?
yeah, fee waivers are available for those families that are in need. We don't necessarily waive the entire fee because most of the classes during summer school are taken as kind of an enrichment or to get ahead. But if those courses are necessary for graduation, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, Carol, could you please poll the board?
Ben Yosef,
Aye.
Sal,
Aye.
Gorson,
Aye.
Tyre,
Aye.
and no.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, Pepsi contract?
Yep, so we are nearing the end of our Pepsi contract. We have entered into, we typically enter into a 5-year deal for the sale of drinks. I'm not gonna say, we used to say soft drinks back in the day, but now it's mostly drinks. And we have a wide variety of drinks. I think if I included in that contract, you can see all of the various drinks that Pepsi does in fact have ownership over. So we did take a look at that. Coca-Cola is not interested at this time. Again, we've been a Pepsi product or a Pepsi school pretty much since I've ever been here. And then you can see the incentives that are provided to the district, but this is not a cost. This is a revenue producer for the district. This does not cost the district.
And just to be clear that 4-year blip, when we did go to Coca-Cola was
Mark McLeaney's, under Mark McLeaney's.
People were losing their jobs, it was crazy.
It was certainly not under the tutelage of myself.
Yeah, it was tyranny on campus.
I guess it's not fair, cause I did tell Mark I would never throw him under the bus, so I guess I did once, it's
I think I saw
not
a
too bad.
Netflix documentary.
Netflix documentary, how can Stevenson do this?
Horrible.
Yeah. And Sean, somebody might wonder, well, wait a minute, does this have to be bid?
It does not, cause it's revenue
Because
producing.
it's revenue producing, not a cost. So, essentially, I think what you're looking for is, who's.
Continued.
Yeah.
Dollars.
Yep.
Continued dollars and continued support, and Pepsi is a great partner to work with. They have a variety, like I said, they have the variety of products, and the one product that really probably goes over the best that they own is Gatorade. And that one makes the most sense. We use it for all of our athletic programs, and then we use their G0 and their G2, which are the lower sugar brands that Sodexo sells. Just in case anybody's curious, all of the products that Sodexo purchases and sells through our lunch lines are all part of this particular contract. So it's a pretty lucrative contract. So you can have it, I'll put more information in our mid-meeting memo, and then we will be seeking action in November. Especially after, and Steve would ask the question if you were here. Yes, the contract is currently under review by our attorneys, so we'll have that finalized for you in November.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, and so can I have a motion for the consent agenda, please, to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, Carol, can you please poll the board?
Sal.
Aye.
Gorson,
Aye.
Tyre,
Aye.
no.
Aye.
Ben Yosef.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, and that brings us to our last informational report. We have a few items for tonight, but we are excited to begin with our annual Student Achievement Report. And joining us, we have Wendy Custable and Tony Ribel. And I believe you guys are gonna take it away, right?
Yeah.
And I think folks have a hard copy in front of them.
Yep, we should.
Okay, and while you're doing that, let me just, because I have to remind myself that we have some new members on the board, that the Student Achievement Report is our annual report that we pull together for the board. That includes all of the data that we currently have on the previous school year. So generally speaking, we present this report every October. And I think we have all updated data for the most part. Yep, ACT, SAT, great. And so generally, this is a report that extends the conversation that we had at the retreat, finalizes all the data, and really is kind of our ultimate accountability report to the board around student achievement. So, with that said, I will turn it away to Tony and Wendy to walk us through.
Why is this not? I know, but why is it not? Okay, sorry. I don't know why I got my funny screen. I'm scared what my husband's gonna text me. So, hey everybody, I'm Wendy Custable.
I'm Tony Ribel.
Just as we get started, we have 3 district goals, as many of you are familiar with. These are the wordings from the 2021-22 school year. Our 3 goals are basically our student achievement goal, our college readiness goal, and our social emotional learning goal. So the first piece that we're gonna talk about is our SAT, that's our state student achievement exam. And just wanna give a little context, last year was our first year kind of back having testing as normal as we could. And so that's just our timeline from September to May of when we took what and when, with April being a very busy time of year, as you may already know. The other piece of information that's in your packet, just for your reference, is Troy shared this out with us at the beginning of the school year about just the kind of craziness it's been with testing in our worlds. And so our 2023 graduates, you can see over on the right, their first in-school state exam was their fall of last year. So they've taken 2, took the PSAT in October and then the SAT in April. And that's the data we'll show you here right now.
And that means they missed their freshman practice
Yes,
SAT
so-
and their sophomore practice SAT because of, so.
Yes, thank you.
yeah, we've got a lot of spaces in the data
Yeah,
that we
so
have.
that we'll have a lot of spaces for a couple years yet. So the one chart here on page 7 I just wanna highlight for you is if you just look down at the bottom, although our students have missed some things due to COVID, the top in the brownish colors are the junior tests, our current seniors, and what their total score on the right of a 1220. And then compared to where other Illinois students were and where junior students at the time nationally were ranked in their scores. The left is the English reading and writing, and on the right, in the middle is mathematics. If you, up at the very top, you can see their benchmark scores of where they should be.
Can we, do you want us to do questions or comments?
Sure,
as
however
we
you want
go,
it,
or
totally
do you wanna
fine.
wait?
You go ahead, go down.
So there's been a lot of, information in the news and whatnot about kids and test scores and the impact, and so we stayed pretty steady.
We stayed pretty good.
Yeah, that's impressive, so that.
It's super impressive.
Okay.
And that's really, you think back to the hard work that our teachers have done over the last few years and, really taking Zoom very seriously, the Zoom education, as hard as it was. And then I would also celebrate our kids, like the kids at some schools didn't show up, but our kids were really
They
still
stayed
dedicated to doing the work and they came to class. And I think we were able to really, I don't think any of us would say it was the greatest educational experience that we ever had, but it was good.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
kudos
it's
to
pretty
everyone
impressive.
for maintaining.
Definitely. To that end, since we only had 2 exams for our current seniors, last year's juniors, the PSAT, so the growth was pretty amazing too, from when they took the PSAT in October to when they took the SAT in April. You could see those numbers, and what's just interesting and just fascinating is how many exceeded, even with all of that, and only having those 2 exams, they exceeded 16% exceeded growth on both. And although we're never happy when we have any student who doesn't, but it was at 3.5%, which is still something to work towards, but pretty good.
And for the new folks, just a reminder, the goal that we've written around that SAT state testing for us is not that we want kids to get to some specific score, but we want all kids, no matter where they start, to grow by the accepted amount in the time that they're here. And so you can see that only 3.5% didn't meet the minimum growth in both math and writing, so that
The shift from ACT to SAT for Illinois requirements was relatively recent, correct?
It's in 2018.
Okay.
So it's still even interesting just getting, cause most of us in the room, if we're in Illinois, we're ACT. And so helping our students, the teachers too, helping our students through the SAT has been interesting. And once we started it, we went pretty much into COVID time, so it's been an interesting little journey.
Well, and I think especially those 2 pieces together, this data reflects really positively on the work that's being done by faculty and students.
It very much does.
So one thing that, where I enter the picture here is with our grading and assessment system. So last 8-9 years, we've been, moving to an evidence-based approach, getting those skills out in front, which align to AP and SAT. And we're able to now cross-reference pretty easily how the kids are doing on the skills in the course, but those course skills and criteria also give us insight into how they might be doing on the SAT and AP, as well as you're gonna see some of this other data as well. So this is a new addition to this report, but you can see pretty clearly that we have in a lot of the skills that cross over to SAT, I guess to reframe that, we're not stopping the learning to go do SAT style practice. It's embedded in what we do. And I think, that's been the goal for a long time, and we're finally starting to see that data come out, so.
To that point exactly, with the change from the paper SAT to the digital that's coming up, if you've looked at the test, it's considerably different. So that I would think is gonna have an impact on how classes are structured to support the kind of thing that you're talking about. What you're thinking along that, and how's that gonna move forward? Because that's coming up in the next year.
It could be in the next year.
2024?
Yeah, it's coming. So a couple of things is one, just getting teachers familiar with it, just getting teachers familiar with what that looks like, and getting everyone comfortable just with the change in technology, which we're finding students in iPads, or if we use Chromebooks, whatever we use for those testing days, just getting them those experiences in class. We're gonna talk about APs in just a little bit, but one thing we're doing this spring is AP is also going that direction. And we are going to pilot one course to see like what's that test setting like for us, infrastructure wise, but also for students and those experiences, so we can start, because we're seeing that coming down the road with absolutely everything, with with all the college boards,
But the test itself, the kinds of things that I'm thinking about is the test itself.
Oh, yeah.
For example, there's not gonna be any, it doesn't look like there's gonna be any writing components.
Right.
So that changes things, and then the way the reading components are structured, where they're shorter passages with fewer questions and all that.
So the criteria that is needed
It's just
to
gonna
meet that
be a
are-
different
True,
test.
yes.
The criteria that's gonna be referenced in the SAT change will then be, our teachers will look at that and put that into our rubrics, which fit nicely under these skills too, so.
Yeah, because the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first electronic version is the PSAT next fall, yeah?
That's what they're saying.
Or is it April?
Was it?
I thought
No,
it
it's
was-
not this April,
no,
it's
it's
next
fall.
year,
It's
it's
next
next
fall.
fall.
They still haven't- First
It's
go
next
around.
fall.
They're still
Yeah.
not sure they have it all the
Yeah, it wasn't ready to go, but
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
But yeah,
Thanks.
it definitely teams are gonna start looking at that sooner than
You
later.
know, College Board, I mean, sending boxes and boxes of material to every school in the nation, they've got to be happy to get out of that. I mean, just to change their.
I assume the prices will go down.
I'm sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, way down.
Proportionately.
I do have one other question.
Yeah.
Do you all use Khan Academy for preparatory support at all?
We don't formally do that. I know a lot of our students have used it. Our teachers don't use that in the classrooms.
We tell
Well,
the
not in
kids that it
classroom, but I mean.
we tell the kids it exists and give
Yeah.
them the ability, to- but it's not part of our.
No.
It's theirs, that's their individual practice and
Sure.
support.
Just another reference for you, as we're talking about students taking the SAT, the top number on the number on the top is those are the students that only took it once, took the SAT once, and then you can see it progressively go down of how many students are taking it. The one thing I just find fascinating is what about almost half of our students take the SAT once?
They don't.
And with the scores that you saw. So that takes us to this one, which is interesting, and I'll leave this to you to spend, some nightly reading on at some point. But what I wanna highlight is, down at the bottom, you're going to see what's expected of the graduating class. We say expected because there still could be a couple more students that wanna take it one more time for kicks, I guess. And so and just explain, I don't know, the average super score, and I make sure I'm new at this job, but I make sure I have this correct, is that if they took it multiple times, it takes their best score and their super score. And so thus the reason why we have students here that may take it more than once. And as you can see, the scores are.
And then for SAT testing, can students just choose one subject to do the retest or have to test all 4 subjects?
They're gonna take all 4.
They have to
All
take
four.
it all
All
again.
four, yeah.
Okay, that's different than the SAT.
You have to take it all.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, before I move on to college readiness, any additional questions about SAT? So our college readiness gets to what are the college level experiences that we're providing students. And so we do that in 3 major areas, 4 if we count the biliteracy that I'll talk about in a little bit, but advanced placement, dual credit, and articulated credit. And so just to kind of give you some context, we offer 32 AP courses, we have 31 dual courses and 4 articulated courses. And as Mark shared earlier, we're trying to increase that as we go. There are definitely some AP courses on the horizon that could be potential for us, as well as some additional dual credit courses along the way. Just a side note, there's a lot of our dual courses that our students at the technology campus are receiving through the College of Lake County. And this graph just shows, it's nice longitudinal chart that just talks about the percent of our students that get that college level experience. And just to kind of remind all of us, our goal is to provide the college level experience, and that we believe that if a student has, an experience or 2 before they graduate Stevenson High School, that's gonna prepare them the best for college or their post-secondary choices, not necessarily taking an AP exam. So I'll talk about that in a second when we get to the APs.
Yeah, and again, another new insert here is the skills and how those connect to kids taking a college level experience versus kids that aren't. And we can pretty easily see that, how kids are doing proficiency wise in the skills depending on the college level experience that they take. So this is just a comparison between this last year's group that graduated with at least 1 college level experience and the proficiencies they ended with in semester 1 of that year, and the kids who did not have a college level experience that graduating year, how they fared in those skills. And this is what's exciting about this is this process is already cycling through our MTT and our targeted tutoring as well. The skills that are here, it's already in process. Our tutors are talking about this, so this is all embedded in supporting our kids in this work.
So to that end, does that mean that, they're encouraging kids to take a college level experience and to, you know, those conversations, is that
Well, I
what you
think
mean?
this information can help us have conversations with kids to give them the confidence that they can
Boost
do
them
that,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Certainly.
And as we move into AP, just some highlights of this, 5,290 exams were given this past school year with 2,009 students. Majority of them, 61%, were juniors and seniors. And then just a highlight of this, with that, if you look at the kind of the circle on the left, 89% of them had at least a 3 or better score, thus hopefully giving them the college level experience that they need to prepare them, but also maybe even give them a credit or two depending on where they're going. And this is just a long longitudinal data, just telling you basically the same thing as we move all the way over to the right. What's really interesting about this one, and I can't wait to see how this plays out, is although the number looks like it's coming down slightly, what we aren't seeing is the number coming down in students taking AP courses or college level courses. We've seen over the past couple years, and I don't know if it's COVID related or not, students making choices for themselves. They're taking the experience, but some of them may choose, most of them senior, saying, look, well, I don't need this credit, or I'm not gonna earn this credit at my university, so I'm not gonna take the exam. Took the course, had all the experiences, but decided not to take the exam.
And I think we believe the taking of the course is more important than the exam, so it's fine for us. And we're happy kids are making that choice to, control their,
I was gonna
you know,
say,
their
do you
pressure.
see that as kind of an SEL moment that
Yeah.
maybe,
Make it a
they're
wise choice
making,
for them.
that's gonna stress me out too much, I'm not gonna do it, so, that's.
perfectly.
There's no window for registration. It's now, has it closed already for this year or
2
is
more
it
weeks.
still? Okay, I'll be curious to see what it looks like.
November 8th.
No, yeah.
Well, that's when the early registration, you can still sign up until March, you just have to pay extra. So we really won't have a number until March.
Got it.
Cause many kids still wait.
And there are a lot of kids that'll wait until they get closer, like, I don't wanna spend the money, or they're willing to see how they play out
You
the
get a
course
discount for
first.
paying early.
Again, though, to your point about being sort of intentional, both with their family's resources, their resources, and their energy, it makes good sense.
Exactly. Kids are making some good choices, I think. And this is just something for your reading pleasure later about the mean score, the percentage of exams by division. This is one of the things we're really trying to hold true to, is giving freshmen that freshman level experience. So you can see definitely the numbers change once the students become sophomores, juniors, and seniors about taking an AP course.
And how do the 11 kids, where do they come from?
It's a variety, and a lot of them are students that just, I wanna take the Japanese AP exam, or different exams that we don't offer, Italian. We see a lot of them in the world languages.
Yeah, they're almost all kids in the world languages who are native speakers and just wanna get the test out of the way. And they don't even take the course, they just take it. We don't offer the Japanese course,
We
so they
still-
just take the test.
We don't allow freshmen to take, we don't
Well,
offer
we'll let them,
freshman AP classes.
we don't let them take the class.
Right.
But we will
Anybody can
let
take
them
the
But
test.
show
anyone,
up and take the
but
test.
anyone, yep.
Right.
Has social studies always historically been the highest? It looks like the number of exams is quite.
Yes, it is, and a large percentage, not a large percentage, there's a lot in government, US history, and there was a very intentional effort a few years back, I don't even know, Eric Trey might know a little bit more of that history, as we were trying to figure out how do we get more students taking these college level experiences, that was a course that was an easier one to transition into.
It was, yeah,
The senior year.
It was more accessible for kids, yeah.
And honestly, the science number is much
Catching
higher
up.
than it was, yeah. And social studies has been high for a long time, but some of the other groups are catching. So the disparity used to be much bigger. If you go
Yeah.
back 10 years.
Yeah.
It would have been, social studies would have doubled up everybody else.
They must have had
Because of
They must have had an amazing teacher division, Ms. Gerber.
Many amazing teachers.
Yes, many.
In addition, we also have our dual and our articulated credit courses. 472 of our students took advantage of 24 courses, as well as the students that took articulated courses. So these are just as wonderfully proud of these programs too, because a lot of times these courses tend to be courses that get students that this might be their only college level experience.
So I think you pick up on the theme and my role in this presentation here. So we could, with the grading system and the structure we have now, we can now cross-reference skill proficiencies and the AP score, which we were never really able to do. And these skills, again, align with the AP curriculum and get them ready for the test, like Gary was saying, what's on those tests. So we can clearly see that, on that AP Physics 1, there were, 7% of the kids who met analyzing and interpreting data throughout the year got a 3 on the exam. So again, we can, we don't want kids to fall through the cracks. We want to know who they are. We want to support them and get them to where they need to be. And with this structure we have, we can anticipate that and get ahead of that. Be proactive is the word I'm looking for. So if you go to the next slide, I just kind of picked a few of the larger courses. This is AP Bio. So you saw that, there was 5% of the kids that met in mathematical computational thinking in that course. They got a 3 on the test, but most of our kids, that met skills 5, 6, and 8 of that course got a 5 on the AP test. So to me, being the data nerd that I am, I'm super excited to see this because I think we can illuminate some different profiles of students here. So, and then if you want to get really crazy, we can cross-reference final semester grades with AP scores and the skill proficiency. So we can, I don't know, maybe I'm just the only one that was nerding out on this all week, but I was super excited to see that this data set because there were kids who met reading and rhetorical analysis, got an A, but they got a 2 on the AP test, right? So not that the AP test score is the goal, but we can definitely now identify the students early and help them out, which, we could run this every day, all the time to see that, how they're progressing. So, and then the green were kids, who got an approaching in those skills, but still got a 4 or 5 on the test. Hopefully I was a little worried about presenting that, if that made sense, but. Okay.
And then grade distribution.
Yeah, so this is kind of quasi me. I've always given you this crazy graph. There's a lot going on, but these are our grade distributions throughout the year. Semester 1 last year, and then if you go to the next slide, semester 2 by division. And, it just tells us the distribution of A's, B's, C's, D's, and F's. And, it's an exciting graph, lots of colors. Our kids do really well. But if you go to the next thing here, we can now, again, not to beat this theme home, but we can see kids who took a course that had a skill called simplifying and solving.
Which is math, most of our math courses.
Mostly math. And got a final proficiency score of meets in that skill. This is how the grade that they earned. So 57% of the kids who got a meets in simplifying and solving in whatever class, usually math, that had that skill, they got an A for a final grade. And if you go to the next one, same thing in reading. So we can watch kids grow in skills over time and connect that to whatever we want.
So are you saying that there are particular skills that you pull out as benchmarks, essentially?
Yep. Based on what Gary was saying earlier, our review of the criteria, AP, SAT, whatever test, if there's a new test that comes in, we have the structure to pretty easily do that.
So.
And the exciting thing about that is that for so long, schools, especially high schools, were so driven by content. And then just go take the ACT and SAT and good luck,
Right.
Now we're able to really kind of like zero in on, well, what exactly are those skills that are going to show up on the ACT, SAT, but then are transferable into our curriculum, which is something we're never really able to do before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Grace.
Yeah, no problem. Just try to understand the data here. So for the 60% of student got an A, under the myth category, right? So which means they can get a 3 on all targets throughout the school year?
No, just on that one. The way this graph is just on that one skill that's at the top, Grace.
Just
It's reading comprehension analysis. If they took a course that had that skill and they got a meets, 61% of them. What I'm looking at is that tail, is that there's a lot of kids who got a meets, got a B or B minus. Like, how does that help? What conversation does that drive now that we can help support kids?
Okay, so which means if a student can stay on the track of all meets, they can ensure they can, get a A as a final grade for
Well,
this
and I like
course.
in the
Right.
cross-reference from the chart from a few minutes ago where we talk about the AP scores that come out. So we can start to say, well, are we giving grades that are appropriate? Because the grade you should get a good grade if you can succeed on the AP exam. So are those two things lining up? And then also, are what we're identifying as meeting the standard, do those line up? Like, so there's sort of 3 checks, right? How are you doing in your standard? How did you do in your grade? And what does that look like on standardized exams that measure that material? So it gives us sort of 3 points to identify if we're doing the right thing. Like, because you might wonder, like, how did a kid get a D who has met the standard of reading comprehend? That's an interesting question, right? And we're going to want to know, how did that happen? What was the learning profile of that kid? How do we make sure that never happens again? Like, that's an interesting question, right?
Yeah, and to your disjointed thing, those 3 areas those 3 mechanisms have always been here, but there's never been really a through thread to see it. And now that we have this, it's pretty interesting. And just to give props to our student learning program, our student support, they've done an amazing job taking these skills into our tutoring and running that through. It's just really, really exciting to see.
And I mean, I think, yes, the SAT is important, but beyond that, I think the SAT is a college readiness exam. So the skills that you're highlighting here that correlate to an SAT score makes sense to me, that those are the skills that would be most necessary to be successful in college.
So another piece just to highlight, that gets to our college readiness is our Seal of Biliteracy, just to highlight, because it's a pretty amazing program. And just to highlight it a little bit, we have the 2 things I want you to really focus on here is we have 213 students that were awarded the Seal of Biliteracy, and in 13 different languages. And so they get this, and please help me, I talked to Justin this morning to make sure I knew exactly how they got this, but students have to show proficiency both in English and in whatever the other language is. So a lot of our students get that by the score that they receive on their SAT or ACT, and for their English, and whatever, a lot of our students are taking like AP, whatever language that they're taking, or we have a variety of different software groups that we work through that will then assess in whatever language they want. So we offer, it's many different languages.
We've doubled up every other high school around in the number of kids that are learning this. And already for next year, the number's gonna be we're gonna be about 60 more than that, I think, for the kids.
And so what students receive from this is, in the state of Illinois, anywhere from like 6 to 12 credits earned to that university. And many other in the nation too, depending on the student, the situation, and the college. So it's getting our students way ahead in these areas. And then the last piece is our last goal, is our social emotional learning goal, which you heard a lot about already earlier. And just so you know, we worked through, and I'm sure Dr. Feinzimmer has talked a little bit about the Panorama software, that company that we use, that normed reference surveys. We offer 4 different surveys. The one you hear from the teachers is from the student voice survey, and I'll show you a little bit of information kind of school-wide that kind of puts the science team a little bit into context tonight. We do an SEL questionnaire, a school climate survey, and then Tris Hauser with the athletic program does another one for student athletes. And of the panorama, the student voice survey, there's 6 categories. You heard today from the team, you heard they were talking a lot about their classroom belonging. That is one that many of our teams are looking into. How can they address that within their teams and their classrooms? And another one I want to highlight is the classroom teacher-student relationships, especially coming out of, this is our first kind of real school year in a while. And so where are we with that and how can we improve that? One of the things I definitely want to highlight here is if you see up at the top, there's 14,828 entries. So our goal and our hope and our desire and what we tell teachers is that every student should have an opportunity to provide feedback in every single classroom, every single semester. And so we're getting there. Students are providing feedback. So this one's from our classroom belonging, and if you remember what you saw from the science group, what's really interesting, if you saw in theirs is a year-long class, so they're usually relationships, the classroom belonging is lower in the fall and higher in the spring because that's a year of getting to know the students in their classroom. But what's really interesting, as a district, as a school, aren't seeing those big dips, which is really fascinating. And although 74% is fantastic, us being Stevenson, we're like, well, that's 74%, what about the rest? And so to put a little bit more context is nationwide, we're at the 99th percentile for this area, which we're pretty proud of.
Well, I think Don brought this up too. What does it mean for a kid to belong in class, right? They can say, I don't feel like I belong here because of the type of class or the level of the class or the students in the class or the interaction with the teacher. Like that question is just, it's loaded with a lot of different background. And so, you said, when you talk to your kids, you get different information.
Mm-hmm.
I have a new board member question.
Yes. Hopefully I have a new assistant principal answer.
About this student voice survey. I think that I stumbled on this data. It must be public on the internet. I think I stumbled on survey questions. Stevenson, is that possible?
Yeah.
Could be.
And responses, I mean this data, when I was doing research of my own about the school. And it's great. And I'm also, in addition to being a new board member, I'm also an absent-minded parent. So I have 2 students here, and I never thought to ask them about them taking any surveys. In other words, I didn't know that this survey was taking place, either in the fall or the spring.
You would see, if you Googled Stevenson SEL, you would see this report from previous years. I mean, this data is out there because it's linked to our website. I mean, so yeah, you would see this.
Do we communicate to parents, or how do we communicate to parents that this survey is taking place? Or do we?
I don't
send out a survey expression or letter to parents about that. The student receives a prompt related to the survey, and oftentimes teachers will do the survey in class.
Typically an in-class assessment.
We have had
Because just to be clear, I think it's great. And I mean,
that's a good question.
And I was glad to see it, and I'm glad to hear about it and learn more about it. And I bet that there's lots and lots of parents who would think the same.
It was highlighted in the Minuteman a few times over the past few years where we've said like, here's some of our data, so the information has come out through that venue, but never as like a
that's a really interesting
purposeful blast about that information.
And that's a really interesting question because it's not about academics per se, it's about how your children are feeling and what their perceptions are, and that's an interesting one as a parent, like, I wonder how they are feeling in class, because I'm sure how communicative high schoolers can be with families, right? And so it would be really interesting.
But to be clear, I mean, for the most part, it's data that is actionable for us.
Yes,
right? Like
it's-
this is data that we're collecting and that we're using so that we can
Definitely.
make changes instructionally in the classroom. It's not general perception data, about, kids'
Not the
feelings.
world around.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's important to recognize that we give this assessment just like we would give any other assessment, academically in the classroom. So just as we don't necessarily tell parents about every time we're gonna do an assessment about, math or social studies or science, we wouldn't necessarily tell them about this, but it could be out there. I mean,
Well, we did put
we tell
put it
parents
in the
that
annual report, there was a
it's all
little
over. I
bit
mean,
of
just
that, the
Google it and you'll find
99
it, you know what I mean?
percentile,
But yeah.
And just one little side piece about classroom belonging, and as you'll see probably throughout the school year at each board meeting, each team will be addressing classroom belonging specific to their groups of students, specific to their classroom situations, specific to their strengths and areas of growth too. And so that's where some students may have different feelings, a sense of belonging, hopefully within their day, they're getting that in a variety of different ways throughout their school day. The other one I just wanted to highlight before we kind of end is just the classroom teacher-student relationships and just building that, and you can see that it's continually growing. And that also is in the 90th percentile as compared to our peers in the nation.
And just like sense of belonging, this has like 5 or 6 questions marked that, we don't just ask kids sense of belonging, do you feel like belong? There's 6 questions that drive into that. And just like this, we don't ask you, do you like your teacher? It's 6 questions about the experience that kids are having in class, and that gives us data to be able to then, as teachers, be able to take action on behalf of the students. So.
Is this data used in teacher evaluation?
No. Because there's an element of perception on behalf of the students. I mean, I feel like I belong if Mr. Gobble's given me 2 Ds, So there's an element of, you have to take it with somewhat of a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But is there actionable information in here when you look at it holistically? Oh, yeah. All right, so thank you both. We appreciate you. Great job. Yep, it's a lot of information. And just so our new board members know, like this is an every October kind of thing. We generally share with you some preliminary data at the retreat, but this includes everything that we've gotten from AP, from SAT. Used to be ACT was running a little bit late, but we have everything now, right? Awesome. All right, thank you guys. Also just wanted to share information around our current enrollment. We just did a check 5 minutes ago and our current enrollment is 4,499 students. So up about 100 students from last year. That number fluctuates week to week, in any given week, we're plus or minus a number of students. We'll have a full report at the November Board of Education meeting, but we're 1 student away from 4,500 students. And if you recall, we were at about 4,300 a couple years ago. So that number is slowly but surely, just as our demographer said, that number is ticking up. So I think they had us this year at somewhere around 4,530-ish.
Yeah.
And so we're tracking pretty closely to what they've suggested. So.
And I just sent out all the data for the next batch.
Yep. And then Sean, you had 2 items, one about tax appeals.
Yep, so again, for some of our newer boards, new board members, we engage services of Robin Schwartz to help us with large tax appeals and or board of review cases. The district only gets involved when the taxpayer is requesting over $100,000 reduction in their assessed value. And typically what happens is we go through and they'll come up to an agreement. Sometimes they'll use an appraisal, sometimes they'll use other history. But as you can see from here, the taxpayers, the large taxpayers, and again, when you think about $100,000 reduction in their taxes, right? That's probably, we're talking businesses, right? Maybe some homeowners, but predominantly businesses. And so in those instances, they only received about 40% of the reduction that they were asking for. There's two reasons why this is important. One is it keeps our tax rate lower. And two, probably more importantly, is that it's, any reduction by any one taxpayer then increases what every other taxpayer in our district is going to pay. So if we don't intervene on some of these very large taxpayers, then our smaller taxpayers are all gonna actually have to pay that business's share. So that happens every year. We engage, like I said, we engage our attorneys to take care of that. And you can see from the report that it's very successful. So did that make sense? I just want to clarify for our new board members.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know when there was a couple of them in here that were arguing based on low occupancy?
Yep.
Is that reassessed from year to year then? If they fill the strip mall, their taxes
It
should go
can
up,
be,
right?
it can be. It can also be the quadrennial reassessment's always a fun time as well, where they look to reset base values for those next 4 years. Just to be clear, most of these appeals are coming from, again, larger businesses that also have attorneys that are looking to reduce tax flows, taxes that they have to pay. So it could be a large apartment complex, it could be, a grocery store, it could be whatever that's in our district. So what we're trying to do is to try to, we're trying to keep the playing field level, if that makes sense.
And the other thing to keep in mind that our district is unique in that not only do we cut across 18 different communities, but we also have a large business infrastructure.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few businesses who understandably so pay a lot in taxes.
Correct.
And would love, like I think most of us, to see a reduction in those taxes. So it's important that we engage in the process, because otherwise you all and single family homes are gonna end up picking up the,
Right,
you know,
I appreciate that.
the increase. So we're not looking to fight anybody, we're not going to battle, but we do wanna make sure that
And just so.
nobody's getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, and I just wanna clarify, this is only on reductions that are over $100,000. So if you as a homeowner say, boy, I'm paying more than my next door neighbor, and I look it up and my next door neighbor's house is $10,000 or $20,000 lower than mine, and you seek out that reduction, we're not intervening at that point. So, the other thing that I wanted to announce, and this is a good thing, is that I'm happy to acknowledge that we did receive LEED recertification yet again. So this is our third recognition by the USGBC, US Green Building and US Green Building Council, sorry, easy for me to say. And this is for what they call LEED E-bomb, which is existing buildings. So our entire campus, they look at all of the practices. We achieved certification at the gold level. This does not include our new addition, which did receive platinum, because that's a brand new facility. So again, the policies that we have in place to continue to continue to practice sustainable practices over time is working, so.
Okay, and then one last item, if everybody can hang in there for 5 more minutes and 8 seconds. I have a video from the foundation that we'd love to share. We had a foundation event on Saturday night at It was a Nashville Unplugged event. It was awesome. Don was actually there, and thank you, Don, for being there and supporting the foundation. In addition to hearing just great singer-songwriters telling their stories about writing all these songs for famous people, the foundation actually showed a video that I just thought was really great. It's a new video that they put together that I think they're gonna be sharing in different venues. And I thought you would get a kick out of it because it really does show the impact that the foundation is having on behalf of our students. So let me see if I can cue this up.
Ever since the foundations started helping me, I have that confidence to say, I'm here, I'm deserving of my space.
There are many good schools throughout the Chicagoland area. But what makes a school great? Stevenson High School is an exceptional academic institution, frequently ranked as the top open enrollment public high school in Illinois. There is no question that Stevenson inspires students to dream big.
Given my family's circumstances, there were times I felt that my future was uncertain, that college was out of reach, but with assistance and support, I excelled in high school. And now, I am in education, giving back to students the care and the dedication I received. And I have the Stevenson Foundation to thank for making it all possible.
Stevenson High School is extraordinary in every way. Focused on more than just test scores and state championships, students' experiences in and out of the classroom propel them to an array of colleges and exciting careers. This is a place where a student can reach for the stars as an educator, photographer, engineer, or even an NBA player.
I'm Jalen Brunson, NBA point guard and 2015 Stevenson High School graduate. Stevenson offers world-class academics and the best in-state co-curricular arts and athletics. But while the vast majority of students can take advantage of all Stevenson has to offer, there are hundreds who walk these halls each day silently carrying a burden you may not see. Teachers who face financial hardship often lack the most basic essentials they need to fully engage in their learning, let alone access the school's rich co-curricular experiences, which are key to emotional growth. For financially under-resourced or first-generation students, college can feel out of reach. Even worse, only 5% will ultimately need a degree. What if there's a way to help? A way to ensure right here, right now, that all students can succeed at Stevenson and beyond.
The Stevenson Foundation empowers students to reach their brightest futures. Vital Foundation programs provide immediate assistance and long-term resources, and our Alumni Association keeps Patriots connected.
I think without the support of the foundation, I also wouldn't have gone to college.
My college search at a minimum would have been far more conservative, I guess, in the sense that I wouldn't have been able to explore as many college options, as many programs that they've offered, and I think I would have definitely considered going directly into the workforce more heavily if I had had the help of the foundation.
I don't think I would have pursued my education further than high school if it wasn't for the Stevenson Foundation. So once again, I just want to give a thanks.
At Stevenson, it tends to be a higher income area, and all the feeder schools tend to be higher income, and so I feel like maybe the lower income, it gets overlooked a little bit, oh, well, Stevenson's rich, they don't need any help or support. But there are kids from, all different classes and all different backgrounds. And so I think it's important that everyone feels supported.
Not a lot of people have the financials that a lot of the people here do at this school.
I have the resources, I have the community behind it, and it's just the knowledge that I'm not alone. And that there are other people supporting me within the foundation and other people that also want to see me succeed, not only my family. I could just turn to anyone mostly anyone in the foundation be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or can I get your opinion on that? And it's not something that I would have had it not been for the foundation.
None of these crucial supports are possible without the partnership of community members like you. You can help students thrive here at Stevenson, and with hard work and effort, realize the future of their dreams. Join me in supporting the success of all Patriots. Make your gift or get involved today at stevensonfoundation.org.
And immediately after the video ended, people started pulling out their wallets. It was amazing. It was very cool. But it was a great event, and it really just highlighted the great work that the foundation is doing on behalf of kids. So it was a lot of fun.
Very well done.
Yeah, it was very well done. And the event was such a hit that they're already talking about having another Nashville Unplugged in a year and a half, try to make it an annual thing, and it was really great. So we're happy with the work that's happening there. So that's all I have.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah. Or we can stick around.
The government folks are saying, please,
Get
please
us
get us out of here. They just seconded it from over there.
Change of heart.
Did we get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.